let's continue to have a show. And speaking of guys who may have a show this year, or not really a show, but a heck of a year, Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell is somebody that is said to be turning heads at OTAs. And Spencer Raxter, you've got a video.
I do.
So, we talking about the meat missile?
Talking about the meat missile.
Yeah.
What's your expectations for him and how important of a role that he'll play in defense in year 2?
Let me tell you, first off, he's a man. He's a grown man. He's really like taking control of this offseason the way he should take control of it. He's a true Mike backer. He's a guy that lives, breathes green dot mentality as a Mike backer. And he's done a really good job of actually, and all our guys have, just transforming their body because they've had a true offseason in the NFL. So he's done a good job with that. And then just watching him on the field, his zone drops, his mentality as far as going after the football has been outstanding. We only had 2 days of practice, and he's been doing a heck of a job. And just the way that he's leading the men as far as defense is impressive to see.
Ooh, though, that is some high praise from defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn about Jack Campbell, among others, of course.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So if I'm going to go to football here, I'm going to go to Spenmo Rax. What does Aaron Glenn mean by a green dot linebacker when he's talking about this and that? What does that mean to the layman?
He means the captain. He means the guy who's called. The green dot is the guy who calls the plays for the defense. So Captain Jack is what they called him in college, and so he's exuding that same energy.
So it's pretty much the Jared Goff of the defense. He wears the helmet that the play calls come into. He's the one that's doing check and signals. That's a hell of a lot of responsibility, isn't it? Especially for a second-year guy. Now, I'm not saying it's unprecedented because we've seen first-year guys get this in other successful teams. But I guess my question to you, Flannel, and to the room, what do you take from what Aaron Glenn just said there?
I take that Aaron Glenn expects Jack Campbell to take as big a leap as anybody on this defense, because I think Aaron Glenn knows that Alex Anzalone, he obviously was fantastic last year. The best season of his career, was the captain of that defense, but Jack Campbell's more talented. Jack Campbell actually has the, I would say, the skill set and the size and the athleticism to be one of the better middle linebackers in the NFL. But also, I think what we learned last year, and you saw it as opposed to other linebackers who were rookies, playing middle linebacker, like in the NFL, is really hard, especially going up against NFL athletes as opposed to Big Ten West athletes. I know Jack Campbell really struggled a lot in coverage last year. And at the beginning, you have to read, you have to react, you have to diagnose plays. The defensive line a lot of times was porous as opposed to what we think it'll be this year. So I think that Aaron Glenn recognizes what Jack Campbell can be and has been seeing some flashes. And I think that that's a very good sign, because I don't think anybody thinks that Jack Campbell is a guy who's not going to work hard, who's not going to put in the time, who's not going to get the absolute most out of his talent. And even last year, we saw some flashes. He was pretty consistently good against the run, and he did have 95 tackles, which was second on the team. That's not everything, but that's not nothing either. So I would say expect a big season from Jack Campbell if you're asking me, and I think Aaron Glenn believes that as well.
Benny, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with what Flano said. I expect a huge jump from Jack Campbell this year. I think DJ Reader being in front of him is going to help that as well, because he's going to, clog up those run holes, take some blockers, and Jack Campbell will be able to do what he does best, which is just be a psychopath and play downhill and hit ball. So I expect him to take a big jump. A lot of people were not happy with his rookie season, but if you take out the amazing rookie seasons of Gibbs and Branch and Laporta, Jack Campbell didn't have a bad rookie season by any means. He was second on the team in tackles. He really started coming into his own in the end of the year, and he started making plays. So I think we were just spoiled with 3 fantastic rookie seasons that a good rookie season looked bad in some people's eyes.
Yeah, and I know this isn't a perfect gauge, but going into the draft, there was talk about, could they draft Jack Campbell? Jack Campbell was not really talked about, but guys around that time, like a Dian Henley or a Drew Sanders or I forgot who the other one was, but still a couple of those guys. Trenton Simpson, good one. They basically, those guys and they got drafted later, they were basically special teams guys the whole year. They didn't really do a whole lot on their respective defenses. And Jack Campbell, although he didn't get a ton of snaps at the beginning of the year, became more ingratiated into the defense, and was basically an every down player by the end of the year. And he had some flashes. Like I said, coverage was kind of rough. Those NFL running backs and tight ends, they hit a little bit differently.
Than Big Ten ones.
Than the Big Ten West. And Jack Campbell, super athlete in the Big Ten West, and I would say more of a league average linebacker when it comes to NFL. Maybe a little bit above that, obviously, but you guys understand what I'm saying. Korean Jesus, I got to go to you. What are your expectations for Jack Campbell this year?
I have high expectations for Jack Campbell. I am really intrigued on how he's going to take another step forward this year. I also think another very underrated thing in that video of Aaron Glenn is him talking about getting his body right. And I think that's such a big thing that this staff focuses on is everyone being in the correct shape, in the correct build to do what they need to do for this team.
For what they're going to ask,
for what they're
right?
going to ask.
Biggest thing, one of the biggest thing out there is there's two things, right? So you've taken the green dot, and you've taken the Mike linebacker off of Anzalone, which means that that's the graduation, and having Anzalone there, right, to help him every step of the way, but not have to be the main guy. It's time to go up. But when these guys are talking about he's a man. That's the first thing he said.
Yeah,
he's a man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What do we have on this defense, Spenny, that, you know what, we started to get last year or whatever? Isn't that what we're more like looking right down the line? Hutch.
Yes.
That ain't a boy no more. That's a man.
Mm-hmm.
Lee McNeil. That's a man. He's only going to be more of a man having DJ Reader beside him, right? You bring in Davenport and, you got men.
Mm-hmm.
Like men in your backfield, men that have matured over a year, knowing in the offseason. The biggest thing there too, and I know this, right, is you've had a taste before you know what it's all about until you said, yeah, there are growing pains because the speed is a little bit different, but until you experience that and get burned, then you don't know what you have to do. You got a year away, go get your body right, get your mind right. This is everything along the lines, right? So is this fair to say the two guys that the coach and the defensive coordinator have come out, Jamison Williams and Jack Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Those two guys are the two guys on offense and defense that if we're going to go to the next level and win a Super Bowl, those are the guys. We know what to expect out of the rest of them, but those are the guys that have to step up either with big plays, big yardage, consistently, stuff like this. And those are the two that we're hearing about out of these OTAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are the first-round picks that Brad Holmes has made that haven't quite popped yet to the level that like Jahmyr Gibbs or Aiden Hutchinson and Penei Sewell had. But we'll see. I think it's a big year for both of them. And Stephen Baffey brought up something great in the chat because it's something that I've always said. And it's a little self-serving, but hey, it is what it is. The Lions defense has a theme. They like guys that do not just stop in the run game, but dominate in the run game. Making opponents one-dimensional is a huge advantage. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record at some point, but if you look at PFF, something that the guy who usually sits here hates and I love.
No, we don't follow that in this show.
Follow that.
Of course you do.
Hey, Jack Campbell was
Pro
one of
Football Flannel. It's really called.
But you guys are going to like this. Jack Campbell was one of the many players on the Lions defense whose grade skewed higher in the run game than anything else. It was him. It was Kirby Joseph. It was Brian Branch, John Kaminsky, Aleem McNeil, and DJ Reader did last year for Cincinnati, and he's coming over. And it all led up to a run defense that was pretty damn dominant. I would say second in the NFL in rushing yards allowed per game, and that's where I look at the Jack Campbell flashes, in which he's shown some things that have already made him a pretty serviceable linebacker at times last year, and sometimes even a good one. And if you want to talk about the Alex Anzalone angle, it's my guess, I'm obviously not there, but I can kind of deduct some things, that Alex Anzalone probably sees the smarts and the football IQ that Anzalone already has in a Jack Campbell, but Jack Campbell has a higher ceiling. Maybe Alex Anzalone is thinking, I can help make this guy better as well. And that would certainly, if you can get like the upside of a Jack Campbell with everything that Alex Anzalone provided last year, that's a hell of a player. That's a guy that could be sniffing some Pro Bowls someday. I will just say that. But yeah, Jack Campbell is certainly a guy that I expect to take a big leap next season and to be, I don't know about one of the better players on defense, but I'd say your best linebacker isn't out of the question.
I don't think so either.
I think leading your team in tackles isn't out of the question.
I don't think so either.
I think being like second, third, or fourth in tackles for loss isn't out of the question. Maybe even a couple of sacks, maybe even a pick or two. And I know that that's aggressive, but he was the number 18 overall pick, and he showed enough flashes to give me some faith that he's going to be a good football player in this league. Dan Campbell spoke. He had some comments about one Aiden Hutchinson, which I found interesting. I heard what the heavyweights had to say last night. I thought they did a great job, and you guys on Wake Up Woodward as well. But for those of you who didn't get a chance to hear, go ahead, Spenny, play Dan Campbell's comments on Aiden Hutchinson.
To you, the impact of a defense, and can Hutchinson has another level or two, I would think, to rise to?
Yeah, sacks aren't that big of a deal as long as you're getting the pressures. As long as you're getting pressures that and those pressures show up that affect the quarterback negatively, you know. Now, would you rather have sacks? Absolutely, I'd rather have sacks, right? You lost yardage, all those things, but the pressures are more to me than, man, a pressure that affects the quarterback. We watched a couple of clips this morning in front of the team. Quarterback's wanting to step up, he can't step up. The throw is high. He's flipping to his right. He can't get his hips around, and we throw a pick. So these things that end up in negative plays, whether it's incomplete, it's turnovers, it's whatever, I'll take those all day long. So, look, Hutch is going to continue to improve, and whether those come in sacks or not, I already know he's going to be better. You know what I mean? That's just the way he is, the way he works. It's like Saint. You're gonna be able to count on the production he's going to bring.
Do you buy that he needs somebody or more production on the other side of the line to improve?
That will always help. It helps. If you've got somebody else that can kind of push them to you, at times you can kind of hide in a little window, and it could be a half a yard the other way and that's all it takes for him to miss by an arm length. So that helps. Yeah, it certainly does. But you can also get that from a 3 technique on the other side. That could be Mac, that's opposite of him on some things. So, but yeah, somebody on the other side always is going to help.
I think that perfectly sort of encapsulates what I've tried to say for a very, very long time. I've had lengthy arguments about.
Yeah.
Because what do you mean? And of course, now that Dan Campbell says it, everything Dan Campbell says is gospel, right? That's how you guys acted when you talked about J-Mo. Everything he says is gospel. It's Dan Campbell, right? He said it. But no, seriously, one thing that I've always tried to preach ad nauseum, and I think a lot of people knew that, but when it came to Hutch and sometimes frustrations, and rightfully so with the defense as a whole, is that playing the edge rushing position is so much more than just sacks.
It is.
You know how I know that? Because sacks in the grand scheme of NFL football are so fucking rare. You know how I know? The all-time leader in sacks per games has .93, and that's TJ Watt. If you have 2 sacks a game, which a lot of people call for on certain games, you are the greatest defensive player in the history of American team sports. Whether it's a 12-game season, a 14-game season, a 16-game season, or a 17-game season, if you get 2 sacks a game, you break the all-time sack record. So you might only make that one really big splash sack play on a game. And that's kind of what I've always tried to say, is that getting pressures is important. Hitting the quarterback is important. When it comes to Aiden Hutchinson, let's just look at last year. Yeah. Nobody would say that he played a bad game at Kansas City. He was in Patrick Mahomes' grill all night. He hit him 3 times, didn't sack him, but you obviously saw that Patrick Mahomes was a little bit rattled. Even the great Patrick Mahomes gets rattled. You look at the game at Minnesota to clinch the division. Hutch had 4 hits. You look at the game against the Raiders, and this is a play that me and Spenny have referenced many, many times. Devontae Adams with the Lions up by 12 early on in the 4th quarter was wide open for a walk-in 98-yard touchdown, and Jimmy Garoppolo missed him. Why did he miss him? 1, because he blows, but 2, because Aiden Hutchinson was right in his face and just, lit Jimmy G up right as he threw the ball. You even look at the Rams game, the Rams playoff game, in which Aiden Hutchinson had 2 sacks, but some people even talk about, one of them, Matthew Stafford fell and Aiden touched him, and one of them, Stafford was just trying to run and Hutch kind of held contain and just kind of touched him down. Yeah. But the most impactful plays were the hits, the holding penalty that he caused, the second and goal at the 6, up 7-0, the pressure and the hit that Hutch had on Stafford, in which he had to basically throw the ball away, the 3rd and 12 hit that Hutch had on Stafford when it was 24-17, or like late in the 3rd quarter, that forced Stafford to throw the ball to Kupp for 4 yards and forced a field goal to make it 24-20. And then, of course, the most important was that holding penalty that Hutch caused with the Rams driving at the Lions 34, 3rd and 4, with a chance to get a first down, milk more clock, maybe kick the game-winning field goal, force the Lions to use timeouts, or maybe get the game-winning touchdown. That was Aiden Hutchinson that forced that holding call. I'm not saying Hutch is perfect. I'm not saying that he should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. I'm not saying that all of his moments were great. It's just that I feel like sometimes, and I'm not accusing you, Spenmo, more the chat, just kind of watered this down to count the sacks, bruh. And you know what? While we're counting the sacks, he had 11.5. The way some people talk about him, you think he had like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
He had 3 in the playoffs, which was tied for the playoff lead. He had more combined regular season and postseason sacks than Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and Nick Bosa. He has the same amount of sacks in 3 games that TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, and Myles Garrett have in a combined 10, which is 3. Those are things that you got to realize about Hutch. He's not perfect, but he's the best defensive player we have, and we should be on our knees thanking the good Lord above that he fell to the Detroit Lions.
Nah, definitely. And Sam, you're not wrong. I just want to start with that. You're not wrong in what you are saying. And I don't expect Hutch to be a perfect player. I don't expect him to make every play. But when you have a player, the skill caliber of Hutch and how easily he gets in the backfield, like pressures are pretty much measuring how well you get in the backfield. He's in the backfield damn near every play. When you have that kind of volume, going a month without a sack, it's kind of, you know, and I don't want to get you started. It's not about that, but the defense, for one, they have let him down to some degree. It isn't all his fault, but we have seen plays where Hutch will get in the backfield and then he whiffs on a sack, or he over pursues the quarterback and then they make a play. These are the things that we talk about when we want to see more sacks. Yes, the pressures are good. It's not a useless stat by any means, but sacks are drive and down killers. They guarantee you that the defense they're going to make a play and they're going to put the offense in a bad position. When you have just a pressure, that's fine, but the quarterback can still escape, can still make the play. And more times than not with the Lions, that's what we saw. Is that all Hutch's fault? Absolutely not. Hopefully it'll be better this year. He has more help along that D-line with Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader. Things should definitely be a lot better for Hutch, but I do need to see the sacks too.
Sure.
And
Go ahead.
I just hate like the victory lap that people are taking on this, because what Campbell said is pressures are better than nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, obviously pressures are better than nothing, but Dan Campbell in that same sentence said he'd rather have sacks because they're more important.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'd rather him get a pressure than just standing there doing nothing or not getting anywhere near the quarterback. But you'd rather have him sack the quarterback because that is more impactful and more important in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly.
Sacks are important. Sacks are what win games. Pressures, if you pressure a quarterback 4 times in a row, you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Maybe he gets an underthrow. Maybe he gets an interception. Mm-hmm. Maybe he gets the ball off. Maybe he makes something happen.
Scores a touchdown.
If you sack the quarterback 4 times in a row, you get the ball back. Like, it's cut and dry like that. Pressures are definitely better than nothing, but sacks are the important stat.
And at the volume that he gets in the backfield, you do just expect more sacks. I mean, that's just what it comes down to.
The problem, though, you're using an example of sacking a quarterback 4 times in a row. Nobody in the history of humankind has done that. We talk about a guy here. I'll go back to an old head. A guy that if you ask Tom Mazaway, and I don't have any disrespect for this guy, he's one of the best defensive players ever, Lawrence Taylor. He kind of uses him as the greatest defensive player ever. I'd vote Aaron Donald, but Lawrence Taylor certainly has a case. The way that Tom Mazaway, the way that old heads talk about him, you think that he had 3-4 sacks every single game. The man had 3 seasons where he had 15 or more sacks. He had 142 sacks in 183 career games. As I've said, sacks I don't want to say they're random, but they're rare. Sometimes you do everything you can, and the quarterback just gets rid of the ball.
Yeah.
The only reason I use that 4-sack argument is because people that act like pressures are great, pressures are fine. That's all we need is pressures. Yeah. If you don't get a sack, it's fine as long as you got a pressure. No, that's not fine for me. It's not fine for me because you can still get the ball off with the pressure. You can still make a play with the pressure. Obviously, I don't expect you to sack the quarterback every time, but sacks are better than pressures, and that's not debatable.
Yeah.
I've never said that sacks weren't better than pressures. I've said that when you look at in the totality of last year, I think Aiden Hutchinson's sack numbers were fine. I think if all of us would have been told before the beginning of the season that he'd have 11.5 in the regular season.
That's a disappointment.
No.
We both said 14. You sat on that other booth, and you said 14.5 sacks for Aiden Hutchinson last year. So 11.5 is not fine. That's underachieving.
Oh, so he had a shitty year. He had a fucking shitty year.
Did I fucking say that?
You're basically saying that.
You just said it's fine. When before the season started, me and you agreed 14.5 sacks is the expectation. So under that is a disappointment.
You know what? Maybe 14.5 sacks was a little bit lofty. I'm saying that he had a season to me that was every bit as good as a 14.5 sack season. And oh, by the way.
So you moved the bar.
I didn't move the bar. He had 3 more in the playoffs, dude. He had 3 more in the fucking playoffs. And it's the playoffs for the fucking Lions. My point is that he had 11.5 in the regular season, and then 2 on Matthew Stafford and a playoff win over him. Erect the fucking statue. That's what we would have all been saying. But no, we're acting like he needed to do more. He was less than. He is the least. One of the least of the Lions' problems.
But Sam, can you agree that he can take it up a notch? Because yes, we don't expect him to make every play, but if you're going to call him elite, that's fine. But when you got players like Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt that are getting at minimum 14 sacks,
dude,
at minimum,
this is Hutch's second year. His second year. We're acting like, you know what? He wasn't prime Lawrence Taylor. He's a bum. Come on. And oh, by the way, Myles Garrett. He had a 5-game stretch where he didn't have a sack.
I get that.
He had a whole ass playoff game where he didn't have a sack.
If you are of the belief that he can take it up another notch, then what we're saying is absolutely valid.
Fine. But I don't think it was his fault at all that he didn't get more sacks. Maybe he missed a couple, and that's fine. But for the most part, he was the best thing that you had on this defense. And we should all be, and I think most of us are, and I think even you are, Spenny and KG, we should all be happy with the season that he had. He took that second-year leap. He was a Pro Bowler. Do I think he's going to be an All-Pro next year? I certainly think he has a chance. It's a pretty deep edge rusher class, but I think his sack numbers are going to improve. But I also think that has more to do with what's around him.
If he had a year like last year, would you be disappointed that he didn't progress?
No.
If he had the same type of exact year that he had last year.
Yes,
go ahead, Spenny.
I would, because he has different pieces on the defensive line now.
Exactly.
He has a guy, Italy McNeil, hopefully can stay healthy and be that guy in the middle. DJ Reader commands a double team. On the outside, if Davenport and James Houston can stay healthy, you got those pieces. So if Hutch goes out there and puts out 11.5 sacks again next year, I'll be disappointed.
With 3 of them being in the playoffs. I do understand that they do count, but in the regular season, he technically had single-digit sacks.
No.
You can't keep. No, he had 11.5.
He had 11.5 in the regular season, 3 in the playoffs. Come on.
And you can't get so defensive over Hutch when we say he needs to be better because he's held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
We all know he was the best player on the defense last year. That doesn't mean he can't get better. That doesn't mean he's just God and you can't say anything bad about him and erect a statue of him. No, he can be better. He is a part of that trash defense. Just because he was the best player, was he not a part of the defense?
He was the best thing they had by far.
That's what I just fucking said.
Best thing by far.
But he can still get better.
Yeah.
Is he a perfect player?
No.
Can he do no wrong?
No.
Then he can take criticism and stop getting so angry when people criticize him.
No.
You can say he's the best player on the defense, but he needs to get better at the same time.
If you want to call him elite, he does need to get up there with the TJ Watts and the
and I think he will. And I don't think there's anything you can complain about from the first couple seasons as long as he takes the leap that you all think that he will and should. But here's the thing. Spenny, let me ask you this. What's an acceptable sack total?
For him next year?
Yes.
15.
Come on, bro.
I said 14 as my floor.
Guys, did you know?
Guys, you lose.
DJ Reader is going to be a big part of why he gets to 14 in my eyes. That man eats a double team. If we look at what he did for Trey Hendrickson, he had 17 sacks in the season.
Okay.
You don't think that's possible for Aiden with a DJ Reader if he stays healthy?
I don't want to hear a damn thing about how he's disappointing if he doesn't get 17 and a half sacks. 15, I even think that's a little bit. He can get less than 15 and have a great year. Do you know how I know that? Micah Parsons never had a 15-sack season. Max Crosby has yet to have a 15-sack season. Julius Peppers never had a 15-sack season. Terrell Suggs never had a 15-sack season. Bruce Smith, the all-time leader in sacks, has 2. Jason Taylor, former Defensive Player of the Year, has 1. Von Miller has 1. 15 sacks do not grow on trees. Every single guy that I just mentioned is either a Hall of Famer or a future Hall of Famer, and a lot of them won Defensive Players of the Year.
Yeah, but it's not impossible, though.
Myles Garrett won a Defensive Player of the Year with 14 sacks. I'm just saying, if you say 15 or bust, I think that's a little bit lofty. That's all.
Is it? If he had 11 and a half and 3 in the playoffs?
I mean,
he technically already did it.
Yeah, if he had 11 and a half last year and you expect him to make a jump, I don't think that's too big of a jump to expect.
Yeah.
But as Dan Campbell said, you can still affect the game with pressures and hits. I'm not saying they're as important.
And we're not saying that either. That's why I'm saying pressures aren't a useless stat. Yes, it can affect the quarterback, but that doesn't tell the whole story. I can pressure a quarterback and he can scramble for a 60-yard touchdown or steal pass to a receiver for a 40-yard bomb. Yeah. Like, pressures are important, but they're not everything. Sacks are definitely what you would prefer.
Well, before we go to break, what's your number, Flannel?
My number, I would say, if it's anything, I don't even really have a number. Get in the double digits and then make an impact in any way that you can.
See,
I would probably say 15, but I'm not going to hold him to that standard that he has to get 15 or he's a bum or anything like that.
Nobody said that.
I expect him to be fighting for an all-pro spot and to be a no-doubt Pro Bowler. That's what I expect.
And we are going to start the show off here. We got our guy Kool-Aid from the morning show. Wake Up Woodward here in the building as well. If you do not know, Monty Williams has been let go by the Detroit Pistons. And breaking news. Yeah, breaking news, as a matter of fact. And D-Mac, for the very first time, maybe it's the Pistons connections, I don't know. For the very first time, we get the breaking news here on our show. Right?
Well, I didn't even think of it that way. I just thought of our conversation yesterday about would Tom Gores make such a move. I think your quote, and I'm paraphrasing, is the fact if Tom Gores was the owner of the Tigers, Javi Baez would be gone. He just ate how much money? $60 million on that quote. $65 million and said, let's change it up. So, again, we saw this sort of maybe writing on the wall after Troy Weaver was released. So it's interesting. Trajan Langdon's first move will be for coach, and I'll leave that up to you and our prestigious beat reporter, Kool-Aid, to let me know who those candidates might be. Former players, maybe. Former coaches. Is it a new guy? Who's it going to be? It's exciting time.
It's going to be interesting.
No, it absolutely is. But Kool-Aid, appreciate your time. And we're usually like, we give people time to spill into the show. Maybe we talk about, things that are going on in our lives.
The zipper method.
Yeah, the zipper method. People try to dispute the science of it, even though it is factually correct. But today, Kool-Aid, we're not dicking around. We're going right in on it. And look, I'll offer up my thoughts. Spenny's going to get pissed at me.
That's right.
I'm previewing, exactly how this is going to go down here today. Number one. Sad. Anytime somebody gets fired, sad to see it, especially when I work with them. Monty Williams was always nice to me. So, I wish him good luck in his future endeavors and all that kind of stuff. He was a nice dude to me.
He gone.
Same here, man. Same here.
There we go. Okay. Number two. And I know this is probably going to trigger Spenny, but the bottom line is, man, I wish Tom Gores would buy the Tigers, man, because he will cut the checks. And at a baseline, was it bad? Has it been bad? Yes, it has. Did they win 14 games last year?
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Terrible.
But when it comes down to it, Tom Gores will write the check at any time. And D-Mac, I don't care what if you hate him, if you clown the Pistons organization, you cannot dispute the fact that he will write the check on spot.
No, and I mean, it's sort of like you see this in different businesses, right? Are we going to keep going on the same path? What this just tells me is that Tom Gores is willing. It's not about the dollars. Obviously, we know what the Pistons are worth, even since he's bought it. So the fact is that moving on, you got to like it. Again, this tells me the Cade Cunningham, the conversations we had yesterday about the big contract, him being one of your $300 million players that you need to win. Yes, it's in place. It's just who's going to be leading them. And I mean, hey, man of action, right? And gets ahead of it. So there's different ways to do it, and you gotta. I mean, I respect it.
Yes. But that's the thing for me. And Kool-Aid, I know that we've kind of vibed on that where that's where we are with it. And it's all you can ask for from an owner, man. For real. I would give anything for the Tigers organization to have that. I would give anything. But we're not here to talk about that.
But again, we're not there. My question is to all of you. Who is the next Pistons head coach, or who do we want as the next Pistons head coach? And I see, right, names coming in. Our very own Tammy Chen says, I want Chauncey.
No.
You know, former Pistons, former players,
really,
stuff like this.
It's not a good coach. Sorry. I love Chauncey. Not a good coach.
Ooh. Yeah.
I mean, I love Chauncey Billups as a player. He's one of my favorite Pistons of all time. He's not a good NBA coach. I'm sorry.
Okay. But Kool-Aid, wake up, Woodward. Credentialed Pistons beat writer.
Sir.
You're in the building.
Yes,
all right?
sir.
And I know you'll be busy here today, so I appreciate you carving out some time. Let's just cut the ish and get you on your way, because that's the question we're going to get.
Let's go.
I've seen it already. The Isaiah Thomas, the Bill Lambiers, the Chauncey Billups.
T-Foss text me, Bill Lambier, but the organization probably won't go that route.
Don't forget Jerry Stackhouse.
No thanks on Bill and Beery.
Jerry Stackhouse.
No thanks
Former
on Jerry.
Detroit Piston, man.
Didn't go well at Vanderbilt. No, give me the 30,000 foot so we can seriously so we can get you on your way, because that's the only question people have. They don't care about what's the past; they care about what's coming up next.
Yeah, well,
give it to me.
Yeah, what I was going to say is the reports now is that John Borrego, former assistant coach throughout the league, and he was head coach with the Charlotte Hornets, is on the short list for the Detroit Pistons. And I would like that. You talk about a guy who started off his NBA coaching career as a video production assistant for the San Antonio Spurs. Greg Popovich kind of eyed or saw something in him and elevated him to assistant coach, where he did win 2 NBA championships in 05 and 07 as an assistant coach.
The Eric Spoelstra route, like down in the film room.
Yep. And he also actually found his way into the Monty Williams coaching tree as well with his time in New Orleans, and also underneath another coach that I like. I love Willie Green. I do. Former UDM product. I like Willie Green. I like the type of coach he is. I like the respect that he commands. So to know that, Borrega has honestly had this experience in multiple coaching rooms that I like with Greg Popovich and the Spurs. You're learning that championship culture. You're understanding what it takes to be that type of a coach, as well as a Willie Green, who I actually like from an X's and O's standpoint, as well as kind of running a younger squad. I like what John Borrega has. If that is the guy that the Pistons are eyeing, you know what? I wasn't thinking about that before. I know that Cleveland, I believe, was interviewing him for their job as well. But that's a name that I really like.
Had a winning record at Charlotte. That's all you
Charlotte,
need to know.
Of all places.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
Yep.
Right there. No, but and again, everyone's going to get caught up in the names of the coach.
Yeah.
And I get that. That's where people go to. I don't go that way with it. What I'm curious about, what's the player movement going to be? Because you can bring in any coach.
Mm-hmm.
Spenny, you loved it when we brought in Monty Williams. Everybody loved it. I loved it. Everybody loved it.
Yeah.
You weren't winning.
No.
No coach was coming in here and winning in retrospect.
Yeah.
They just weren't.
Not even Dwayne Casey. I mean, well, Dwayne, he came fresh off of Coach of the Year, came to the Pistons. He did make the playoffs. And then after that, everything was about the restore. They tore down to the stud. So I don't know what coach you could have brought in after that would have worked. Obviously, and oddly enough, Dwayne Casey continues to be a name that's just out there. He's still with the Detroit Pistons organization. He moved on from coaching the front office, and he actually made that commitment to the organization when he was first hired. So even before they knew that they were going to go down this rebuild route, they identified his mind as one of being, you know what, we want this type of basketball mind within our organization. I know he's been doing some prospect scouting as well as advanced pro scouting as well for the Detroit Pistons organization. So it'll be interesting to see if this is also another name that so far has survived the massacre of the Pistons front office. If he's a guy whose name that floated out there with the GM search, floated out there with the president of basketball operations search, it'll be interesting just to see if his name as a retread floats around with the Pistons coaching search as well. But I think Borrega is the guy that you probably want here.
D-Mac, here's where I go to you. The locker room, the player angle of it. Cade Cunningham, we expect any time between now and Summer League, conclusion of Summer League, that he's going to do his rookie max, extension. So how does this work from the player perspective? And I know that you always say I'm a bad example to talk to about this kind of stuff, but what's going through Cade Cunningham's mind right now?
Well,
Your best guess.
I think that if you want to see, it's about communication. So I would think that Trajan Langdon in the front office are communicating with their star top player that they're going to throw the bag at. The question I asked yesterday when we were talking about you have to have $200-300 million players to win in this league, was there any connections to any other $300 million players or in the making of that had connections to Cade Cunningham? Today, the question is, how about coaches? How about guys in the coaching tree where I would look back and see, is there any that have had an influence or have had Cade Cunningham in the past or know that? And this conversation, I'm sure, it has to be had as far as due diligence. You're not going to make a decision. Cade Cunningham's not going to come in and say, I want this guy or that guy. It's not this type of thing, but maybe there's a relationship and it helps in to have all the information. The knowledge is the power and stuff like this. So I would expect that there's some sort of connection at the end of the day to the new coach. Maybe it was at basketball camps or stuff like this when he was younger. Who knows what it is? But I think those are the conversations that need to be had now. And the fact that, to be interesting, because what is the time? When's the draft, and what is the time frame that you expect this coaching search to be done? Really quick? Do you think
really quick.
So you think that they already had a guy when they made the move to fire Troy Weaver? This was already in place, so they got to have a short list of a couple guys right now.
I would think so, man.
You don't do this.
This will
right
get
before
done.
the
So
draft.
you're telling me this will get done before the Cunningham deal?
Yes.
Yes.
I my guess would be that press conference that everybody's been wetting themselves about. That will happen by the end of the week. That will happen very, very soon.
Yeah. We had heard some noise that we should be getting a press conference announcement at least this week. So
Yes.
it'd be interesting to see if that actually happens.
And now you know why, right? Like for the people that were like, why isn't there a press
It
conference?
makes all sense now.
There you go.
Rod Beard told
Troy
us
was
that
the
too.
first domino, and now Monty. So
That's
he wanted to
that's
clean
it.
house.
Like it all makes sense.
Thank
And-
God, man.
Well, hey, Spenny, again, I'm gonna go back to it. I'm gonna keep referencing it. You cannot question his desire to win, and at a baseline, that's all I think we're in agreement with.
Yeah,
that.
he
wants to win.
He took the L. He took the L, and he stomached $65 million. Chris Ilitch would never do that, and I will give him props for that. I will give him props for it. Looks like on paper that he's allowing Trajan Langdon to do this, to build this on his own. So that will be a good thing. This is what I wanted. It happened a little later than I wanted it to happen immediately.
Yeah.
Like, nobody should be back after you lose 28 games in a row and only win 14 games on a season. Nobody who had a part of that should be back or have their jobs. So I'm glad it happened. It needed to happen. Like I said, it took a little longer than I wanted, but it happened. And
Well, to be fair, Spenny, it's always going to take longer than you want.
yeah, that's fair. And props to Tom Gores. I've said a lot of things about Tom Gores, especially the past couple months, but props to him for stomaching this and eating $65 million.
And if you look at it too, because we talk about the Javi thing, he did this in the past with Blake Griffin, $835 million for him to go. You know what I'm saying? Like that's and we are at the baseline right now. They're coming off a 14-win season.
Of course.
Like there has to be blood in the streets.
Yeah.
This is professional sports. You know who knows that? The people at the Pistons organization. They're the first ones that know that too. So there is blood in the streets, D-Mac. So I think at a baseline, that's been satisfied. So now it's time to move on and move forward and things like that. And now it's Trajan Langdon. You got to get players in here.
Yep. You on the clock.
That's it. Like it's very, very simple, D-Mac. For like as big of a news bomb as it was or whatever, here we are.
Writing was sort of on the wall.
Yeah.
The changes were being made, and different people are coming in. So there's still, there's still a question mark for some people because there still are a lot of the same names in the organization, but we'll see if this little shakeup will help. So, but you can't argue that Tom Gores wants to win. He's throwing money around like he's proven it. If you go into the books, how much money has he thrown around from contract, 150, 200 million, you know?
And he's improved, honestly, his front office structure as well. And hopefully this is one of those final forms of that with Trajan Langdon coming in and hopefully having the complete power to reshape the way that this team does business.
And that's where I am,
standpoint.
Kool-Aid. Like the coach thing, I'm not as caught up on as everybody else is. This is a players' league, man. You got to have players to win in this league. That's
what they're saying. Monty Williams and Chauncey Billups both said, hey, listen, Monty Williams, when he got to Detroit, he said, this is not the type of team structure I want to coach with a bunch of young guys. Chauncey Billups said the same thing, too. He went to Portland because at the time they had some experienced players. And he said, this is more or less the type of team I want to coach. I don't really want to coach a young squad. I think that's code word for you need NBA guys.
You got players to win.
Players to win.
You got to play. All right, real quick, Kool-Aid, before we let you go.
Yes, sir.
Wake Up Woodward, by the way. Shout out, 8 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday.
You,
Kool-Aid's on there. Jerry Alexander in the chat.
Yes, sir.
This is only for my personal entertainment.
Oh,
Juwan Howard.
Oh,
likelihood of Juwan Howard. Bring him home.
Go Blue everything. Shout out to the Fab Five. No to Juwan Howard. No. I love you, Juwan.
We've been getting that all morning,
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Bring him home.
There is a limit. There is a limit to this. Juwan Howard, no. Y'all are trying to get Flannel riled up. His vacation right now is probably going horribly with this.
How long until we see the Tom Izzo article? Happens every year. Happens every year.
It's on the way. Every year, but no.
Come on.
Sam Cassell, though, that's one I know.
No. We're not talking about Sam Cassell.
Nah, bro.
Juwan Howard.
I can't do it, bro.
Give me the roadmap.
I can't. Listen, I love Michigan. I love it. All my kids born there on the campus, me and my siblings, my dad went to school there. I can't do it.
No.
I can't do it. Can't do it. No Juwan. None at all. Not even on Juneteenth Day. I'm not even giving it. I'm not giving it any type of real thought. Juwan Howard.
Trying to get another brother fired.
Great.
Come on, man.
Great guy. Great Fab Fiver. Great for the history of it. You know what? Michigan, they try to handle his firing a certain way. Just let that be that way.
Good on the retreads.
Yep. I'm straight on Juwan.
Come on.
Oh, my gosh.
Jerry Alexander. Juwan would be a better pro coach than college coach.
Man,
come on.
No.
Come on.
No.
Bring him home.
No. Absolutely not. Why is the chat in on this?
Give it to me.
What are you people doing?
Kool-Aid, you should see this chat right now.
Yeah.
Chris Webber, Bill Laimbeer, John Beeline, Rip Hamilton.
Ted Lasso. I would take Ted Lasso.
You know what our fans. I love our fans, but you know how they are.
Hey,
Oh, man.
to the Juwan.
What are we filming? The Flint
We got
Tropics now?
Kenny the Jet Smith in the chat.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro.
Okay. Here we go. Detroit Lions nickel package. KG,
All
you
right.
on the mic.
First down in the Lions nickel package. Who has more sacks this season, Aleem McNeil or Marcus Davenport?
That's a great question. Who came up with that one?
I think that's Flannel.
That's Flannels?
Yep. Yeah.
See if you can guess who came up with the packages, by the way, by the questions,
Yeah.
too. That's a little fun at-home game that you guys can play. Who do I want it to be, or who do I think it'll be?
Who has
I think
more?
it'll be
Yeah.
McNeil, but I really want it to be Davenport. If it's Davenport, if they're both healthy and it's Davenport, I like it.
Damn
I
right.
like it a lot.
Oh, I for sure would like that, but I'm going to go with Aleem McNeil because in the case, when it comes to pass rushing, I think that DJ Reader is the help and Aleem McNeil is the beneficiary. You saw Aleem McNeil when he was healthy last year. I believe he had 5 sacks in 13 games, and he was working with about as bad of a defensive tackle combination, whether it was Tyson Alualu or Benito Jones or Quinn Bohanna, no matter who is out there. And I think that DJ Reader will be an immense help, eating up some double teams, making it so Aleem might have to go one-on-one and can go right up the middle. Give me Aleem McNeil, and I also think that Marcus Davenport might miss more games. At least that's what his history will show. Aleem McNeil, that was more isolated last year. Marcus Davenport misses games damn near every year.
It's a history, yes.
Yeah, and Aleem McNeil, is it contract years next year, right?
I believe.
Yeah.
I got
No, it's this year.
Is it?
It's this year.
Yeah,
Or
I
after-
mean, meaning
after the
he's,
season.
he's a free agent. This is a walk year,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
says,
walk year for him.
Contract year, yeah.
that's why, like, if I had to bet on it, and this is how I construct all my fantasy football teams, all of it, who's chasing the bag?
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. It's funny how it always seems to work that way, that the guy chasing the bag always has the best season all the time.
Right?
So if I had to bet on it, I would bet on Aleem McNeil, but I want it to be Davenport.
Maybe another reason we should want it to be Davenport, because hopefully Aleem doesn't price himself out of Detroit.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if he does, that means they had a hell of a season, and
does,
that defense was good.
Hey, if he does, then we might not care so much because there might be a certain trophy that the Lions are holding at the end of the year. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying if Aleem has that monster season, would certainly be a good start.
Second down, KG.
Second down in the Lions nickel package. More likely this season, Jahmyr Gibbs 1,000 yards rushing season or Sam Laporta 1,000 yards receiving season?
That's interesting, and that's nuanced because I noticed that there's always a gut answer with these things, and I'm curious to see what the chat does here. I think the chat's going to run to say Jahmyr Gibbs.
Ooh,
I think that they are, just because he fit the mold, right? How dynamic he was, how it looked when he ran the football, all of those things.
He damn near did it his rookie season.
Damn near did it his rookie season, all of it. I think it's going to be Laporta because remember, like Laporta did that as a rookie last year.
Yes, sir. All pro.
It's only going to get better, Flannel. It's only going to get better. And look, the Reynolds thing, how much of the Reynolds spillover does he get? There's probably something to that. He probably gets a couple.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Laporta.
Yeah, I must have missed when Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't a rookie. I'm just saying, you said Sam Laporta did that all as a rookie, and Jahmyr Gibbs did too. Although 1,000 yards for a rookie running back is it never happens for a rookie tight ends. Honestly, I'm going to go with Gibbs because even in the modern NFL, even over the past 20 years or so, 1,000-yard seasons for a tight end, unless your name is Travis Kelce, even guys like George Kittle get him about half of the years they play. Rob Gronkowski, less than half the years. You look at a guy like Tony Gonzalez, 4 out of 17 seasons. Last season, Sam Laporta was a second-team All-Pro with under 900 yards, and in 2022, George Kittle was a second-team All-Pro with less than 800 yards. It's just the tight end position, whether it's the lack of big plays, whether it's targets, who the heck knows, whether it's the fact that they also have such responsibilities with blocking, they don't usually put up the numbers of the top wide receivers or the top running backs when it comes to rushing. So I would say because of position, give me Jahmyr Gibbs because I also think he's going to get the majority of the carries this year. Not like a big majority, but the majority.
I would agree.
Woodward Sports chat thread, Vincent E. Flannel looks like he's about to find some Blues Clues.
That's fair. I mean, this is like I said, I could have taken off easily, but I didn't. I wanted to be here for you guys, so you're gonna get what you're gonna get.
What about this? See, here we go.
Yeah.
Multiple people, both. Vandalay, Gibbs might have 1,000 yards receiving. So Jared Goff is going to throw for 7,000 yards this year.
Wow. 1,000 yards receiving from the running back position?
With 1,000
that's
at the tight end spot for Laporta.
That's crazy.
With 1,500 from Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah. We got to start counting the yards, people. It's only so many yards in a game. So.
I believe it's happened 3 times in NFL history. 1,000-yard receivers were running backs. I believe it was Christian McCaffrey, Roger Craig, and Marshall Faulk. I believe.
Look at who you named, though.
And last season, Jahmyr Gibbs had less than 400 receiving yards. I'm not saying he's not going to get better at that. I'm just saying 1,000 receiving yards for Gibbs.
It's a tall task.
I would bet pretty much my life that he'll never get it. And that's okay, by the way. That's more than okay.
It's funny. We're in full July mode in June already.
Yeah.
Book it, man.
Man.
What's funny about it too, real quick? Like, people will legit think, and I'm not crushing you for thinking that. I could see how you can make a case for it. But, like, everybody they pencil in all these 1,000-yard seasons, and then there's still that contingent of people that don't like Goff.
Right.
Well, somebody's got to get him those 1,000 yards.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Got to throw for the 6,500 yards it's going to take.
No, absolutely. All right, where are we at? Third down.
Third down in the Lions nickel package. Tougher playoff rematch. Week 1 versus the Rams or week 2 versus the Bucks? I feel like this is easy.
I feel like it's easy too. But if you look at it from this way, that letdown spot, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even the crowd will be emotionally spent from booing the kids.
Oh,
of the
absolutely.
Staffords.
Exhausted.
Even the crowd will be hungover for
That's
that
true.
second game. Everybody's going to have to fire up the engines in that Bucks game, especially if it's like an emotional win.
Yeah.
Like, low-key, the Bucks game could be tougher just in that that's one of those games where you survive in advance and get a win and move on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, stylistically, the Rams win could look more impressive
Right,
than the
right.
Bucks win. But, again,
They're the better team, though. I can't see
no
them.
doubt.
Like, my trap game was the week after that once they go on the road to Arizona, I believe. So that's what was my trap game.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make a case
But I get
for
what
it.
you mean. I get
But
what you
we're
mean.
all going to be spent after 65,000 plus people spend 5 hours booing children.
Absolutely. And only the children.
And only children. And only a specific set of children.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with, and that's a very interesting angle that I didn't consider, but I'm still going to go with the Rams on this one, just because the new revamped Lions secondary is going to get their test again. They're going to get Matthew Stafford. They're going to get Puka Nacua, who absolutely torched mostly Cam Sutton in that playoff game last year. Matthew Stafford was obviously really good. Cooper Kupp. And that interior defensive line, it's going to get an interesting test from the Rams. They got Steve Avila playing center his second year. They got Kevin Dotson, who they re-signed. They got Jonah Jackson, our old friend, who they signed. And also, they did a lot in the secondary, Darius Williams, Tre'Davious White, and they did lose Aaron Donald, but they drafted a couple of guys who aren't going to be Aaron Donald, but if they wanted to have that really good defensive line, they drafted Jared Verse, they drafted Braden Fisk. They already had Kobe Turner and Byron Young, who last season, both of them had more sacks than Will Anderson. I'm bullish on the Rams being good. Am I saying that they're going to beat the Lions week 1? No. I'm just saying that it's going to be a very, very tough game, and it's going to test some improved areas of the Lions defense right away.
Woodward Sports chat threads. Sandy Dorton, Neil, is DCFC playing this weekend? They are.
Shout out.
International match against Pumas from Liga MX. So the
nice.
big league crossover there.
Yeah.
So it's like a friendly, I guess you could say. So yeah, it'll be fun. That place will be popping, no doubt. Woodward Sports chat thread, jump in to their real cream of wheat. Our voices will be gone too. Yeah, I mean, you boo kids for 5 hours, man, straight. It's tough.
I just can't see them dropping that second home game, but I do understand your reasoning.
No,
Most
it's going to
definitely.
be tougher.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to lose either. I'm saying it's going to be tough.
I got you.
That's where I'm at with it. Where we at? Fourth down?
Fourth down,
Fourth down.
in the Lions nickel package. More receiving yards this season. Sam Laporta or Jamison Williams?
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
You came to
came to
play,
play.
Flannel. I'll give
did.
you that, man.
I'm interested to see his answer because I don't think it's J-Mo.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, let's go to Flannel on this one first,
Yeah,
shall
why
we?
not? Why not?
I'm gonna go with Sam Laporta to the shock of absolute.
wow.
Hey, I know it.
Wow.
Laporta's a hit. J-Mo's a bust, right?
No, I mean Laporta had 889 receiving yards last year. J-Mo had 354. Those are factual numbers. I will just say that. And Sam Laporta, here's the question. I'll ask it to you and I'll ask it to KG.
All right.
Is Sam Laporta our Travis Kelce?
I would say
Is he
so.
that kind of tight end who's going to be dominant for many years to come, have like 1,000-yard seasons, that type?
It appears
he's
that way.
I think he's our version of
Our
Travis
version of Travis
Kelce.
Kelce.
I don't think that he's going to be Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
And that's not,
Yeah.
oh, everybody calm down a
Right.
little bit, all right? Like, I don't think that's egregious to say.
Not at all.
Because Kelce is a different animal.
Greatest tight end who ever lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far.
That's fair.
So far.
No.
Power Neck chimes in.
You still on the Tony Gonzalez train or the Grunk train?
Most definitely. I mean, you got to think about it as a tight end as a complete position. If you want to say receiving tight end, that's one thing. But,
Yeah.
I mean, Travis Kelce's not involved in the run game
No
whatsoever.
one cares about that, Power Neck.
I mean, no one cares about it, but it matters. That's the reason why George Kittle, I think, is a better tight end, a complete tight end.
Uh-oh, you got to get Sam high.
No, I was about to
I
say,
saw the
this
hair
is the
flip.
reason.
I saw the hair flip.
I'm just saying, this is the
don't-
reason. Is a more complete tight end. I will give you Kelsey's a better route runner, but I think Kittle's a better guy. That's a more overall complete tight end, plays the position better. Again, tight end isn't just can you catch the ball and catch passes. There's more
It is
to
to
it than
us,
that.
Power Neck.
No, wait.
Are you
That's all
talking?
it is to
Are you
us.
talking Kittle right now? Because we're talking all time, though. Are you talking Kittle right now or all time?
I'm talking right now. Because
Oh,
if you look at Kelsey's last season, he kind of struggled down the stretch.
No, absolutely.
And coming in the playoffs, he did pick it up. But I'm just saying, all time, I think you put Gonzalez ahead of him, and I think you have to put
Grunk.
Gronk ahead of him. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now let me give the qualifier before Flannel jumps in here.
Yeah.
This man played in a college football bowl game on national television. He single-handedly brought Eastern Michigan out of the depths of hell as a program. So just Division I football player training to be in the CFL right now. Okay, your response to that.
When it comes to the intricacies of football, James, a.k.a. Power Neck, you know more than I do because you actually play every day. But when it comes to sort of history and analysis of numbers and what they do, I would put me up against anybody in the state. I'm just saying that. And Travis Kelce is not only, by the numbers, the most prolific tight end of all time. He is the second greatest postseason pass catching target ever after Jerry Rice. He is the Jerry Rice to the Chiefs. He is. Look at all of the numbers. All of the records in postseason literally go Jerry Rice, Travis Kelce, all the ones that we care about. And they won 3 Super Bowls. And Travis Kelce was the primary pass-catching target over the totality of 3 of them, although on the first one you could say it was Tyreek Hill. I'm just saying.
Rebuttal.
Any response?
Is anyone scared to tackle Travis Kelce, or were you scared to tackle Gronkowski? That's my question. And you look at the Super Bowls and the playoff games, there's several times where Gronk came up big in the end of his career. The big games is where Gronk showed up the most. Travis Kelce had some good games in big games, not saying he disappeared or anything, but I'm just saying Gronk's the person that redefined the tight end position. That's my rebuttal. There is no one you'll ever see like Gronkowski ever again. Dude manhandled guys, literally made defenders chop his knees out every single time you tackled him. That's my rebuttal. And Tony Gonzalez is just a level of consistency that's hard to match, especially in that era. I think Travis Kelce's having a lot of success because he's in the most pass-happy era of the NFL has ever seen. So you have to take that into consideration when you bring up numbers, right? A lot like Stafford fans like to bring up is, yes, Matthew Stafford has great passing numbers, but he's never been a top 5 quarterback in this generation.
Is 7 straight 1,000-yard seasons consistency. And then his 8th one is 984. That's all I'm saying. Talking about consistency, Travis Kelce is consistency. If you want to say he's benefited from the offense, from Andy Reid, from Patrick Mahomes, even though he was good with Alex Smith too, if you want to say all of that, fine. I'm just saying you can't deny the greatness of Travis Kelce, what he's done, how big he has been on Super Bowl winning teams, his playoff numbers, his regular season numbers. He is the Jerry Rice of tight ends. Tony Gonzalez, through no fault of his own, had no postseason success, and I'm not blaming him. Gronk obviously did, but Travis Kelce he's got it all.
All right, to get it back on clock here, Who Farted kind of echoes my sentiments. J-Mo's ceiling is higher than Laporta's.
I disagree. I disagree. Well, why are we ready? Do
you know what Jameson Williams is yet?
Yeah.
No, we don't. We don't know what Jameson Williams is. You act like he's already a superstar. They may or may not have the chemistry that Jared Goff and Sam Laporta already have and showed last season. Jameson Williams had more than 500 less receiving yards than Sam Laporta last year, and you're acting like I'm insane.
And 70 less targets.
You're acting like I'm insane for saying Sam Laporta.
No, you're insane for saying that. He had 500 yards more receiving. Yeah, he also had 50 more balls thrown to him.
Fine, and we'll see this year.
Come on, man.
But when it comes to
That's not apples to apples. That's not being genuine, dude.
It is being
That's
genuine.
narrative spin.
No, it's not narrative spinning.
Yes, it is.
You guys narrative spin all the time about Jameson Williams. It's all about, oh, he doesn't get any targets. Oh, he never played. Oh, he blocks. When it comes to the greatest receivers in the game and of all time, all we think about is production. Why do we like Amon-Ra St. Brown? Because of 1,500 receiving yards. We don't care about anything else. That's facts.
Sports. Not trying to be the best at exercising.
Fifth down. Let's do it.
All right, 5th down in the Lions nickel package. True or false, the Lions will have an all-pro defensive player this season. You know who we're looking at.
No, I know. Yeah.
You know who we looking at. I would say true.
If it goes the way it's supposed to go, then they have to.
I would say true.
Because that's how this stuff works. That when you win, you get all pros in the defensive spot.
Yeah.
Period.
Now, is it any other player besides the person we're all thinking of?
Oh, certainly it could be.
Okay.
Certainly it could be.
Who would be the options then?
Does Kirby Joseph have 8 picks?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
9. You know what I'm saying? Like, no.
Kirby Joseph
the hair flip every time is great. Go ahead, Fletcher.
Kirby Joseph is never going to be an all-pro. With all due respect.
No, but
it's not
if he
going to happen.
has 8 or 9 picks, that's how it works, Flannel.
That
and
would
you
put him on
win,
par.
that's how it works.
All right. We're a bullish on Kirby Joseph, but
Did I say Kirby Joseph loading? No, I was giving you a for instance. I was asking the question, Flannel, and answering the question.
Fair enough.
Go ahead, drop to your knees.
No, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes that it's.
Drop to your knees.
I'm gonna say Aiden Hutchinson. I just think the byproduct of him getting more help, the fact that he's consistently in the backfield, I think some of those pressures are gonna turn into sacks, and he's also very good against the run. He's not Daniil Hunter or Trey Hendrickson, who I believe sack totals were a little bit inflated last year, but they didn't have nearly the pressures or the hits or weren't as good against the run. I think that Aiden is gonna be more complete, and he's going to get the sacks. So give me Aiden Hutchinson.
So he has the help then.
He does have the help.
So much like Jamison Williams, we're going to see, right?
Yeah, because Hutch and Jamison Williams are at all similar in what they've done in their career so far.
Okay.
At all similar.
I know. Love them pressures.
Sam needs to see more. Remember that.
Yeah, you said that. You said you need to see more.
Well, I think the more is going to be more of a byproduct of his help, not because of what he does. But of course he's going to take a
And I think the more with Jamo will be, that they give him the football.
Well, but if they don't.
Weird.
We'll see, though. We'll see. And they might, but you got to earn those targets. You don't just, it's not your birthright. It's not your birthright. I'll just say that.
The headliner, though, was the Jake Wallman trade to the Sharks. So D-Mac, just to summarize this, the Red Wings traded Wallman and a second-round pick that they had just acquired from the Predators and a trade they did before, which we'll get into in a second, but essentially for future considerations, which means here, take this. And I'm going to incentivize you to take Jake Wallman. Here's a second-round pick. Take Jake Wallman. Keep it pushing. And the Red Wings got the future considerations. Now, D-Mac, I'm gonna walk on eggshells around here because I think I know. And like here, Matt Larkin said, if you're coughing up a second too, Yzerman must have something major brewing. And
well, it wasn't the second transferable second. It wasn't yours to begin with.
It was Tampa's.
So it's not really a
through Nashville.
You weren't acquiring it. You were trying to build something to pass on down the line. So how do I look at it that I had that second round pick? Because it was never about that. It was about more so the young Sioux defenseman that they traded.
Correct. That would be Andrew Gibson.
So it would be more of the futures. And then he really wanted this Finnish kid who, what's his name?
Was it Jesse Kissikin?
And the incentive for the Sharks, which, by the way, and it's always sad when you lose a fan favorite and a guy that, here, but he wasn't in Stevie's plan. He might have been in yours, but if you're a Jake Wallman fan, he's going to get all the opportunity to play in San Jose, right? So this is better for him. To me, it just screams that, and I think the writing was on the wall later in the year. You saw him in and out of the lineup at different parts, that he's just not part of Stevie's plan now, to the point of whether this is something big to come. Well, let's just wait. We'll have to just wait and see. Steve Yzerman just came out last week and just said the same thing about he's not sacrificed. Yeah, we want to make the playoffs, but we're not sacrificing anything to get there and not get there. But we expect it this year to the fact, but we got to keep growing, and there's growing pains to be made. So I'd look more into, how old was the Finnish kid, Neil?
18. He was playing in the top league, though.
So that's what I'm saying, is that you got to look at, do you trust the process? The hashtag Wiser plan. These are all the little integral parts. And I'm sorry. And you're allowed to feel sad when your top player. I also said yesterday, if you follow me, Darren McCarty 4 on the X Machine, you really don't. Everybody's expendable except for a few guys when you're not a playoff team.
Exactly.
We're not talking about, you just got there to the final or the last 4 teams into the conference finals and something there. But no, it doesn't work out, and he's seen enough. And this is Stevie talking, whether you agree as fan or not. But this is just the way. This is part of the cold hard facts of the hashtag Wiser plan.
Go ahead, Jesus. I'm curious to get your take, by the way.
Well, first of all, neither of the defensemen that we traded in these deals were obviously in Yzerman's plan. We have multiple defensemen in ASP, Donaldson, and Edmondson, who are we have a plethora of great young defensemen in the system right now. And I think that this says to Neil's point and to Spenny's point that Edmondson is ready, and he will be here next year, and he will be a contributing factor. And I'm just really excited I think that we're building one of the best young decors in the NHL. Every single pick seems to be looking like it has a certain value and a certain archetype that they play the game with that all complement Mo Seider and then every piece on the way down.
Yeah. I don't think it was even a question that Evanson was going to be here all year next year because they brought him up and he stayed. And he showed, as soon as he got here, he was the second best defenseman the Red Wings
Bingo.
had. Like, immediately. And on top of that, you've got guys in Johansson and Wallander who are ready for the NHL. Like, there's not much more they can do in Grand Rapids. Like, these guys are ready to go to the NHL. So I don't know if freeing up this means both of them are going to be Red Wings next year with Wallander and Johansson. I definitely think Johansson's going to be up here next year, but we'll see. And like Jesus said, ASP, he is my favorite prospect we have. Like, I love that kid, and I think he's going to be really good. He needs another year at least, but he's going to be damn good.
See, and here's the thing too. So let me just, because I see this already. This isn't the trigger, KG. We haven't reached the trigger yet, but I haven't got through all the messages yet.
I got you.
Alan W. I would have rather dumped Hull's salary instead.
Well, come on.
Well, you don't trigger
Really,
D-back,
Neil?
so.
Really? Really, Neil?
Take your turn.
Oh, man. you
Take your
guys-
turn.
Yeah.
My
No,
trigger point's
come
coming.
on, man.
Let's keep it together, people.
Alan.
Take it. But, like, are we still here? Are we teaching, like, grade 1 spelling again?
Yes. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I'm glad I'm not here tomorrow, so I'll be at a golf tournament.
The D-back said I'm out
like,
already.
You guys are
I'm over this shit.
really.
Okay, I got mine. Here we go.
Yeah, we in business.
I knew it was gonna happen quickly.
Can you just quickly explain?
Yes, D-Mac, I can do that.
It's
Hey,
time.
okay, and here, Chase Hamlin.
I got
Spenny, you said you'd trade ASP for Draisaitl yesterday. Fuck yeah, I would. Like, well,
Fucking Draisaitl.
Yeah, it's Leon Draisaitl is a top 7 player in the NHL. What the fuck? Like, yes. I can still like the prospect and want one of the best players in the NHL for
Take a
him.
breath, Neil.
Okay, we've reached the point. Here we go.
Uh-oh, cut the shit.
All right. Rad Dad Scott. I'm just sad it had to be Wallman and not Petrie, Sherratt, or nobody wants those guys. Nobody wants them. And why are we sad it's Wall? Because he's on a bobblehead doing the gritty. For real. And look, we do that here. We do that here in this town. Because he was on a bobblehead doing the gritty, we traded Ray Bork all of a sudden. What are we doing here? And then the Draisaitl thing. Stop, everybody. Stop. Stop, please.
Bring it down. Good
He's
job.
a third line defenseman, people. Like,
please.
just
Good job.
on
Okay.
a Stanley Cup team, just chill out. We didn't lose anything, and you will be just as happy when you see what move Yzerman makes next.
And here's the deal, too. I'm not convinced they are on the precipice of, quote, something immense. You know what this is? The name Spenny just brought up. The Edvinsons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they're doing?
Oh.
Only so many defensemen can play in a game, everybody. How many times you need Wallman scratched?
Albertsons. Does it? Oh my gosh! Don't look at what it's traded, but it's made room for Omat. What are we talking about? These kids coming up that we were hearing about. Does that not mean that they're ready?
Mm-hmm.
Does that not mean that spot? OMG!
You need the spot. You have 1 to 2 defensemen come. You need the spot. You can shed the deal.
Yeah.
There's a cost associated with it. He prepaid the cost.
Wait until if you do get rid of Justin Hall, what it will cost you. It won't be transferring second rounders. It's gonna cost you
Half the freight minimum. Half of it minimum. And that's the way that it works, everybody. They were not interested in him. No one's interested in Petrie. Like, guys, get in the real world. And Edmonton is not trading you Draisaitl. All right? Stop. You can't even give me... The Red Wings are not capable... If I'm Ken Holland, the Red Wings are not capable of giving me a package for Draisaitl. They're not
because you're not
capable.
going to get rid of Sider or Raymond. So
you're
which would
out.
have to be in the deal.
You're out.
Depending on-
Maybe both. Like, let that sink in, everybody. So please do me a favor. And more than that, guys, do yourself a favor. Stop with the Draisaitl stuff. Okay, I know it's fun. I know we're going into July. I know D-Mac just announced the cannabis brand is being brought back to life. I know we're going to be cracking the beers open
we haven't even got
week.
it out there. You guys can't be that high yet. Jesus.
Tammy Chin. Tammy gets it. Yeah. No one wants our cast-offs. We don't want them. When you say, why couldn't it have been Hall? You don't want them.
It's factual.
When the Sharks don't want him and their ass, that should tell you all you need to know.
Spend more hamster. No truer statement. No one is interested in Petrie. Can confirm, correct. Rack, trying to trade Petrie and those guys is like trying to trade Baez. Salty Pork Chops, do you think Justin Hull gets bought out? It might be one of those things where you pay half of it. If somebody is interested in Hull at $1 million instead of $3.5 million, then yeah, say, hey, we'll eat it. Here you go. Now, maybe you can package that money you just saved to get rid of Hull too. And then they're done.
Petrie, yeah. To get rid of, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Let them cook.
Steve O'Baby, Neil, you're angry. Have a Snickers, LOL.
No, he's the same.
No, I am the same.
He's the same.
I just, KG, what did I tell you?
Yeah, you warned me. It was coming.
I think I owe Randall Small some fucking sort of receipt, but yeah, good thing the brand is up and running now, so I don't need to wrestle to pay the bills, boys. Yeah. Right? You hear that one yesterday?
Yeah.
You fucking idiot.
Right.